Well, we're going to get started. I want to welcome everybody to our Penguin Mixer, and how about a big hand for Coach after the big win last week at North Dakota State. That was terrific, Coach. I mean, outstanding performance by your football team, and Ed and I were there, and some of the fans here, early on faced some adversity, had an interception. They grabbed a 14-3, 21-10 lead, but you bounced back. And maybe the first question I want to ask you is that you're 79 yards away just before halftime with one timeout, and you march downfield, you get that touchdown, you closed it within 4. Now, the whole second half, things, that changed because you have a lot of time left. But I thought it was a big part of the game. You get right back in it. You go to the locker room with some momentum. That was a heck of a drive.
Well, we came out and originally just wanted to run the ball a little bit, ran some draw plays, and next thing you know, we were gaining 6 or 7 a chunk. I didn't want to take any chances where we were going to try to throw the ball downfield because we had some misfortune with that earlier in the year. So we just kind of hit some nickel and dime plays on some run plays. Next thing you know, we were at midfield. And then, we gave the ball to Jordan Thompson there, and 32. He's always good for about 50. So
that was a terrific run.
He ran out of bounds, but Jordan Thompson is a special football player, and he made a great play there. Kurt Hess, Shane Montgomery made a great call, and, the option makes you defend the whole football field.
Ed, and you've talked about it a lot during this year. There's no question Cook's our guy. He's an All-American guy. But they see Bellamy get some carries, they see Thompson get some carries. Nice change of pace, but also keeps Cook a little bit fresh. And I thought that was a key part of the game.
The cumulative trauma, Cook, he's in great shape. He's in better shape this year. But, Coach, speak of the cumulative trauma on a running back. Even if you're healthy, the nicks and the things you get through the year, Bob, if you're carrying 20 times, 30 times a game, 25 times, 17 times a game, and you're in the 11th, 10th game of the season, the cumulative trauma of that plus practice catches up with you. So that's why it's so important to have the stable behind him that we have.
So how is Cook physically? He looked good after the game. Everybody looked good after that game.
He's a lot better right now, and you have to always reevaluate yourself and what you do. And, I felt like after watching the Northern Iowa game, I should have given Bellamy the ball more, should have got Jordan Thompson more involved because Cookie wasn't running exactly the way that we expect him to run. And that means physical and downhill. He was looking to bounce some things, and that's part of the wear and tear on his body during the course of the season. And that's why I said last week that we're going to run downhill. I don't care who's in there, and in reevaluating Northern Iowa game, I said, hey, if Cookie's not hitting it, then we need to get the next guy in, and then sometimes when you stand next to us, you sit back and reevaluate, and, hey, this is the way you need to run, and we need to freshen him up a little bit.
Quarterback Kurt Hess has had over 20 starts now. We've seen him have some great games. I thought that was his best game because of the circumstances, the importance, and the defense. 20 of 24, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. There was 1 mistake, so he wasn't perfect. And I don't know whether you can always appreciate it on TV, but being at the game, there sometimes wasn't a lot of separation. He made some great throws, great decision-making. Was that about as good as you've seen him?
He had a great game, and Kurt's a good football player. He's well coached. Shane Montgomery does a great job with our quarterbacks, obviously, and we put him in situations to be successful. And anytime you can run the ball halfway decent, your quarterback can have easy throws, and that's what we expect him to do. But anytime a guy holds the ball every play, we expect him to play at a high level, and if he's not, we're not going to play well.
And I thought between the two games, Coach, that the difference between the Northern Iowa game and the North Dakota State game was our offense on 1 or 2 drives. You take that drive at the end of the half, you take the way that we played in the second half. I thought that was the difference. I thought our defense played well enough in the Northern Iowa game to win that game. I thought our offense struggled some, and I thought the addition, you put, Bellamy in, you put a little bit of Jordan Thompson in. I really thought, Coach, that the offense in that game made the difference.
Offense really made some big plays when they had to, and then the defense, let's turn to that side of the ball, was so much better in the second half, got more pressure on the quarterback. And I know everybody, probably watching the game, they get the ball at the 34-yard line. You're thinking, man, maybe at best, let's get this thing to overtime now because they're almost in field goal range. They end up giving it up on downs from the 40. I thought your pass rush got so much better, especially on that drive. Coach, talk about the second half, especially that series there.
Well, what happens is obviously coaching staffs have the whole week to spend time drawing up football plays. And, so they come out and they run a lot of like plays, but they're blocked differently in the way they fit them. So what happens is our young guys on defense, get all disoriented, and then it looks like really bad, And it's happened all year because those guys haven't had a lot of experience. They haven't played a lot of football games. So here we are. We come in at halftime, and I was like, hey, a couple big plays here and there, but, we're still in this ball game. I mean, these guys aren't the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they're not. They might think they are, but they're not. And we need to just, obviously go out and stop, beating ourselves, fit things correctly, and then do that. And we made some adjustments. We made some adjustments right there at halftime as far as, you can't be a 200-pound linebacker and take on a guy like Ed coming at you. My philosophy is smoke his knee, cut him, and then make a pile. And then you know what? That guy won't want to pull up on me again. Next thing you know, they quit running the play. Then they run the other play over to the left, and we cut them again. Guess what? They quit running the ball. They all of a sudden thought they were going to throw the football all over the place.
Right.
And the game changed. And that's my philosophy is don't let these guys push you around. At Kansas State, we used to play Nebraska all the time. These guys, they were bigger and better than us, but they'd come bring a pulling guard and tackle behind them. We'd cut the guard and then grab the tackle's leg. Next thing you know, they quit running the ball.
It was different second half, Ed, no question.
Coach, I saw early in the second half there was an all-out blitz that we got to their quarterback, put him on his back, didn't sack him. My opinion is that our defense changed from that point forward, in that I think when you have a young defense like that, they had a little bit of a swagger after that. I mean, did you see that as well? That was, I think it was on the first series.
That was Baltimore. We call that Baltimore. But, no, you have to pressure quarterbacks, and he was going into the game. They only had 4 turnovers going into the football game. That was the difference in the game. And, our defense, we adjust well at halftime. I mean, there's no question. We get in there, we settle those kids down, we yell at them a little bit, get them going, and then all of a sudden they come out and play football. I mean, they've played pretty well every half, after every game in the second half, except for maybe the San Francisco game.
What do you do moving forward? I mean, obviously, whether it's this year we get into the playoffs as we should, and we'll talk about it later, or in the future when you have a team like this, sometimes, like at Indiana State, you can't wake up when you're 28 points down. What could we do differently? What are you doing differently to get that defense started a little bit quicker than the second half?
We're probably being a little bit more aggressive early on than we have been in the past. And I think, the kids just understand that, I think that once in a while, when everything's rah, 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 everybody kind of just hopes to win. I think the difference now is we expect to win. And I've seen a fire in our defensive line. I think that's the thing that I've seen that's probably been the biggest improvement is from the beginning of the game, our defensive line's been ready to play, and they've been holding other guys, accountable. And, this is playoff game number 2. And we've told those guys that from the get-go. Last week was playoff number 1, playoff game number 1. And, it's in – you're prepared. Come out and play. Play the way you're supposed to play. And, good things are going to happen to you if you play hard.
Coach, a lot of good things in that game, specifically the win. One area, though, I know you want to get better at. You mentioned certain areas where you want to improve. Kick coverage. Had good field position. What have you done in it?
Well, we put all of our starting linebackers back on it, and that's a little bit my fault as much as anybody. I think you have to look at yourself in the mirror when things aren't going as well as you expect them to go. And my fear of being so thin at linebacker, because we lost so many guys, we lost Sprague, we lost John Sasson, is we were thin at linebacker, and we had Tevin Williams, Travis Williams, and Davion Rogers out there, and then Ali was hurt at one point during the season also. So we were very thin. And what happens is when your starter goes out, when you have your program established, like you would expect to have it established, that there shouldn't be a huge drop-off between your starter and your second-team guy. Well, all of my guys were hurt. So if I get my starter hurt, then I go to a walk-on or a guy that doesn't play. He's on a scout team. So that's a significant problem. If Tevin Williams is not in the football game, our chances of winning go way down.
Right.
Way down. So I took him off the kickoff team because I wanted to make sure we were playing well enough on defense. Well, I've decided after giving them the ball at the 40-yard line that we're going to go ahead and put these starters back on, and we're going to live with it. So the starters will be back on there this week, and we'll see a much better coverage unit.
Do you have anything on last week's game? If not, we'll move ahead and look ahead to what's on tap Saturday.
Now, the only other thing besides the kickoff, I take a look at this and say, what are we missing to be truly a championship caliber team as we continue to get better each week? And we hit on kickoff, maybe a little bit kickoff return. I'd like to see a little bit more spark. The one other area I want to know, and I saw it this week in practice that you're focusing on it, what are we doing to become better with 4 minutes left in the game when we need a first down? I mean, offensively, it seems like the whole game until the last 5 minutes, we are the best show on turf with the Rams. What are you doing mentally and physically so that when we have that lead and you don't want to give it back to, the Missouri State or to whoever we're playing in 2 weeks, what are you working on?
We've been working on it, and we've been working on it really for weeks, and we haven't had the success that we expect to have. We felt like last week, as well as Kurt played, there was 2 third downs on the last 2 series that he didn't read cover 3 and throw the ball to the right side of the field. And if he makes the right throw, we convert and we stay on the field. So that's the part of the game that we still have to get to. And whether it's running or throwing, are we physically big and strong enough to pound it down their throat and get 10 yards? We've kind of tried that a little bit, and people are blitzing you, and it's a matter of making the right coverage choice. And there were some key plays there on third down on those last 2 drives that we could have stayed on the field and finished the game, that we could have made better decisions because the guys are wide open. Obviously, Northern Iowa, we saw the 3rd and 15 there. Big play. So we're going to have to be multiple. I would love to sit here and say we could line up in 2 backs and run a bunch of good running plays and get the first down. But I don't know if we're exactly there yet. We have to do some nakeds, and then we're going to have to also look at doing some quarterback run game, I think, just to get 4 or 5 yards here and there and make it work.
Coach, Missouri State rolls into town, 1-9, 1-6, but seems like looking at their schedule, their last 3 games, that they've won 1 of them, Western Illinois. They've been more competitive. I think other than your football team, they're the youngest team in the league. They've got freshmen all over the place. What kind of team are we going to see on Saturday? And you've been around. Is this team going to come? You think they'll show up?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, Terry Allen coaches them. I mean, he coached Northern Iowa. He turned Northern Iowa into a powerhouse. And they beat us the last 3 years in a row.
Right.
And, I mean, whether we want to hear it or not, it's the reality. They beat us by double digits. It's the only team that's beat us by double digits since we've been here, other than, the majors. So they're going to come in here ready to play. They are well coached. They have a good scheme. They make you accountable. And, regardless of where they statistically stand, how many points they give up, whatever, they'll come in here and get after you. And I think it's going to be important for us to come out ready to play and attack them.
Yeah, they had a great quarterback, 4-year starter, Cody Kirby, who left. We saw him last year. He's really outstanding. Now they got a young guy, Trevor Wooden, 15 touchdown passes, 5 running. So he's accounted for 20 touchdowns. He seems to really be their guy. I mean, he was a former All-State in Florida, played wide receiver last year because of Kirby. Now he's moved to quarterback. What do you got to do to slow him down?
Well, I think the thing is he's a guy that can hand the ball off or he keeps it and runs. He'll pull the ball down or scramble and run for 15 yards before you know it. So anytime you got a quarterback that can run, he obviously concerns you. They have a very unique concept that they run a zone read. It looks exactly like a run, and then all of a sudden there's a receiver running wide open. So what they do is they put your safety, your Sam linebacker, or your Mike linebacker in what they call a run-pass conflict. So what that means is we're counting on our Mike or Sam linebacker to stop the run. Well, it looks exactly like the run, and all of a sudden he's running a skinny post, and they throw the ball to him. Now, that's something that they do a bunch of. The other thing is they got a receiver that's obviously leading the conference, and he's a good player there. So they just kind of keep you off balance. And, they just kind of keep plugging away at you. The other day I looked up in the Illinois State game, and it was 13-10. They were winning going into the 4th quarter. And Illinois State's a good football team.
Right. And it'll be, they've got a good receiver, Saffold, as well, that can make some plays. Their problems seem to be on defense. I mean, they've given up about 37 a game, and I think that that'll be a key going in with our offense to take advantage of their defense.
Well, they're part of a good program. They have 62 kids on scholarship, and they're going to be coming to Youngstown to beat us. And that was one of my nightmares after having such a great night Saturday night. All I thought about was all the glad-handing that was going on the great North Dakota State game, all the talk about the postseason and what-ifs. And, I was just happy as Wolf and I talked that the focus for all the kids and everything, instead of the 24-hour rule, it was like the 6-hour rule when they got off the plane, and that you have to focus on these games. This team is a very dangerous team. They're young, they're inexperienced, they make mistakes, but if you give them a little bit, you see what happened with the young South Dakota State team earlier this year. So, we got to this point, Bob and Wolf, because for the last 5 or 6 weeks, we have gotten better every week. We were a better team at North Dakota State than we were at Northern Iowa, and go down on the line kind of starting at Southern Illinois. And we have to do that this week, take care of business, or nothing matters. So I know Wolf is focused, the kids are focused, and we have to go out and play Youngstown State football and get better this week. Not just win, not just throw our helmets on the field, but to get better.
It's senior day, and it seems like we haven't been home for such a long time either. And it's nice to come back and play a game at home. Coach, and we're going to open it up in just a couple minutes to your questions. And at the end of the night, we've got a lot of good giveaways. So we're going to have some great giveaways. Thanks to Ed and thanks to Youngstown State. So we've got some fun stuff coming up at the end tonight. Is 7-4, if you get the win, good enough to get in the playoffs?
Yes.
Yep.
No question. We've beat enough people. Between North Dakota State and we're top 15 in the GPI. We'll probably go higher than that if we take care of business. That's all that matters is winning right now. And I mean, personally, we take care of business, we won't lose another football game.
That's the good way to look at it, Coach. How many teams do you think will make the playoffs from our league? Have you even looked that far ahead?
I'm hearing 5. Could be 4. Could be 3. I just know that we need to take care of business, and we'll be in.
Ed, I know we've been talking about it since last Saturday night, the playoff scenario, and I know the coaches are focused on the game. We've taken a look at a lot of different things. One thing we will touch on that you have to assume that North Dakota State and Northern Iowa are in. Those two teams are in. If Illinois State beats Northern Iowa, they lock down 3rd in the league, and then Indiana State, YSU are sitting at 4th. If Northern Iowa beats Illinois State, YSU takes care of business, and Indiana State beats Southern Illinois, then you have a 3-way tie, and that's when it gets complicated, who beat who and schedules and all that. So it would, I think, help us if Northern Iowa beats Illinois State without question. Ed, go ahead.
Well, without any disrespect to Big Joe, one of the smartest statisticians is my son Eddie, and I put him on this mission so that everybody could kind of hear what's happening out there and how these 20 teams get picked. The champion of the Big Sky has an automatic bid. That's Montana State. They're ranked number 1. The Big South, Liberty, they lose the automatic bid if they lose to Stony Brook, which they probably are not on Saturday. The Colonial champion is number 10, Towson. They get an automatic bid. Missouri Valley, they have North Dakota State. They're number 5 in the country. The MEAC is Norfolk State. They get an automatic bid. They're 25th. The NEC is Albany. They're unranked, but they get an automatic bid. The Ohio Valley is Tennessee Tech. The Patriot League is Lehigh. The Southern League is Georgia Southern, ranked number 2. And Southland Conference is Sam Houston State. All of those teams right now as they sit without any help get an automatic bid. The at-large locks, according to my son, is Northern Iowa, ranked 4th in the country right now. Montana, who's 7th. Appalachian State, who's 8th, Old Dominion from the Colonial Athletic Conference, and Maine from the Colonial Athletic Conference are locks for the at-large. The at-large likely, and remember we're counting to 20 here, 20 teams make this. The at-large likely is Wolford, but they need to beat Chattanooga because they have to get to 7 Division I wins. They have 6. So if they beat Chattanooga, they're probably an at-large. And New Hampshire is 13th. But they could be a bubble team if they lose to Maine. So if they beat Maine, they're probably in. Now you go to the bubble. The bubble is Illinois State, as you guys talked about. What happens with them and Northern Iowa has a lot to do with whether they make it, obviously. Delaware, who's number 17, is probably out because they have a max of 6 Division I wins, which the committee has looked at and kind of on an indirect basis said.
And then quickly, they play Villanova, and this is a bad Villanova team. So beating Villanova will do nothing for Delaware.
Right. Central Arkansas is another bubble. They're 19. Their regular season is already complete, and Central Arkansas is probably in as a bubble somewhere near us. James Madison, number 20th. Number 20 is a bubble team. Another Colonial Athletic Conference. Colonial Athletic Conference has 11 teams. They probably will have 4 or 5. Mathematically, because of their strength of schedule, my son has James Madison out. Indiana State, we talked about. Their strength of schedule and their power rankings are 11 different from Youngstown State, just so you know that. We'll talk about that in a second. Portland State on the bubble, probably win and they're in if you take a look at their schedule and their strength of schedule. And then Furman, 27. They only have 6 division wins and play Florida, which will not give them their 7th. So the other bubble team, Furman, will probably be out.
Right.
So, at the end of the day, my son feels there's a 99.9% chance if Youngstown State takes care of business and Northern Iowa takes care of business against Illinois State, so there's a 3-way tie for 3rd place, 99.9%. If that doesn't occur and Illinois State pulls the upset, we still do and take care of business. There still is a debate because the Colonial Athletic already has 4 in. Who gets the 5th team? Is it the Missouri Valley Conference or the Colonial? And there's a possibility that all 3 teams would be in. The interesting thing is he looked at this, and I said this last week on the air, there is a power ranking that ranks every Division I and 1AA that the committee, when Ron Strollo, who's part of this committee, looks, will take a look at this. In addition to your record, in addition to your strength of schedule, there's a power ranking. Just for the sake of argument, Michigan is 12th in the power ranking, and Ohio State is 35th, just for the sake of argument. The number 1 team in Division 1AA, the old 1AA football championship series, is North Dakota State, which is ranked 68th overall. 68 of all Division I teams is North Dakota State. They're ahead of Virginia, Central Florida, Navy, etc. Then you go to Northern Iowa 2, Sam Houston State 3, Georgia Southern 4, and a Montana State 5. Youngstown State is 6 from a power ranking standpoint of what they take a look at. Youngstown State is ranked 93rd in the country right now, ahead of Colorado, San Jose State, Mississippi, Marshall, Boston College, Fresno, and most of the MAC teams and everybody else. So as you take a look at it, my son said that strength of schedule matters, obviously number of wins matter, but at the end of the day, they do look at the power ranking. Mm-hmm. That power ranking is a heavy thing because it's very difficult to pick the 5th team in the Colonial against the 5th team in the Missouri Valley Conference. So,
based on that index as well, it ranks the Southern Conference 1, Missouri Valley 2, Colonial Athletic 3, so our conference is ranked high. 2 other things, and then we'll open up to questions. I was asked this week twice in our history we've won 8 games and didn't get in. How do you get in at 7? Couple things. Back in the Jim Trussell era when we were winning championships, a lot of the schools weren't playing that power. Okay, you weren't playing Michigan State and Ohio State, so teams with 7 losses can now get in. Compared to back then, we weren't playing that game. Last year, 6 teams made the playoffs with 7 losses. So there's a real good chance you're going to see 5 or 6 7-loss teams get into the playoffs. So it's not that magical 8-win number anymore. You can get in with 7 losses. So Northern Iowa starts at noon. We'll have a good idea when we go on air. So we'll, those that are listening, we'll try to keep you updated on what's going on there. But we do like our chances. Teams playing well. If they get in, they can make a lot of noise. And there is the potential, we'll see, to even host a playoff game in the first round. Plus the difference, too, we have 4 more teams in. From 16 to 20, the playoff field has expanded. So questions? Want to open it up to anybody out there? Anybody got any questions? Pope?
They weren't bad. They were okay. Yep.
Pope, how do you want Coach to answer about
that's
officials?
That's the same crew I had at South Dakota State, though. Yeah. They owed us. Trust me. All right. They know it.
Anybody else questions tonight we've got out there for Coach up here tonight? Right here. Jerry?
That's at Illinois State.
State. Illinois State doesn't have that marquee win. I mean, Indiana State, I think, is more impressive if the Illinois State leave. They won at Western Kentucky, and YSU won at North Dakota State. Illinois State, if they lose, I would think they'd be the one out, but we'll see. If there's only 4, there might be 5 that get in from the league. Anybody else have any questions?
10 a.m. Sunday.
Is it 10 a.m. Sunday?
ESPNU.
Okay.
We'll have a team function. No media though. Media people tend to be negative sometimes, except for Bob and Ed. We all know who the negative media is around here.
So we'll know early Sunday morning, where and who we're going to be playing in the playoffs. It's exciting. It's great to be at this point of the season talking about playoffs.
Coach Larisha back there.
Tony,
Jerry
you got
Jones.
something for us tonight?
Kentrell Disher, you know what?
Receiver,
he catches the football. How about that, huh? That's one of the most important things he can do as a receiver. We had that discussion after the Northern Iowa game. You saw him in there a little bit more, didn't you? Sometimes we got to do that.
Coach, and he hustled on that interception.
Did you see his speed on that interception?
Yeah, he's fast, and he's only a freshman. He's going to be a great football player, and he's a good kid, good person. He's a delight. He's a good kid to get to know.
All right, he's got him for 3 more years after this year. Doc Mincy.
I would say that North Dakota State definitely has the best college football atmosphere as far as places that I've played on the road. They understand. You know, when you drive on the bus, all the flags are up, and they have all the little pictures in the windows, and we back the Bison and all those kind of things. I mean, they have a great college environment. You know, they got a bunch of things right there around the campus. They got Buffalo Wild Wings right there across the street, and they got a bunch of things, and it's a real college environment. They get loud on third down, and the place is full. But we'll be back there again next year. Northern Iowa, I don't know. It's okay.
Coach, talk about being back there again 2 years in a row.
I'm excited about it. I like going there. It's a
Explain
good
to
trip.
the fans here, why are we going back again?
Well, I like it because we charter a plane, and we're only on a plane for about 2.5 hours. I would much rather charter planes than sit on buses for 9 hours.
Well, why are we playing them 2 years in a row out there?
Well, because we added another team from the West,
right?
So that's another road trip for all of us. We like those road trips.
Well, that one's pretty easy to get to. I mean,
I like it because it's charter.
We go in and out, 2.5 hours.
We could charter all the time. I mean, we get Don Constantini and Coach Larisha together. We'll just charter all the planes. We'll call it Constantini Larisha Air. Huh? We won't ever have to bus again, Ed. That'd be nice. We might even let Tony drive the plane.
Wait a minute. We're stopping there. I don't know about Tony driving that plane.
Well, once we're up there, we'll let him
plane
drive.
Once we're in the air. But I agree with you, and I've seen a lot of the 1AA venues. Montana's a great atmosphere, but as far as our league, Ed, this is the best place. The community's behind them. They support them. You can see Bison all over town. That's a good atmosphere next to ours. I think I would put it as the best.
Yeah, and they realize what they have here. I don't know, other than the people in this room and family members and everybody. I think there's some talk in Youngstown, but I don't yet think that everybody understands what the hell's going on down at Youngstown State. I've been saying this now for 2 years. I first started Wolf with the coaching staff that you put together, and the mission that Wolf started with, as far as what kind of, everybody talked negatively with all the kids that left the team and the change in the program because of what this guy next to me put down as what this place was going to be all about. He then went out in the off season, and I think but for one defensive lineman, got every person you wanted to fill some slots while the corn was growing of our freshmen, and put 50 guys on a team, 50 new guys on the team. And you just see the growth through the year. And I just feel right now in that football is a crazy game. That's why we're going out to play Missouri State. Stuff happens. But at the end of the day, Bob and Wolf, I would not want to be playing Youngstown State in the playoffs.
Right.
That's how I judge it.
And I think there's a lot of people that would rather see somebody else than Youngstown State come rolling into town with the way your football team's playing. Any other questions tonight? A couple things we got to do, and then I'm going to let Ed sort of run how we're going to do all the giveaways. Coach, but Ed, real quick, I first want to thank everybody for coming. Many of you came all year. Many of you came the majority of the year. We appreciate you being out here. We really appreciate your support because without you, it wouldn't be fun to do this show if we didn't have the audience. As far as the playoffs, we think we're going to be there. Obviously, we're not going to have a show next Thursday because Thanksgiving. But the following Thursday, because we're going to keep winning. We're going to come back here and do it.
Absolutely.
We'll come back here 2 weeks from tonight. We'll do the mixer as we roll along in the playoffs. So, again, thanks to everybody.